Sarah, it's so great to connect with you. Happy
Oh,
Halloween.
happy Halloween to you. It's fantastic to have a moment to chat. I really appreciate it, and thank you for making time.
You kidding? Well, I gotta admit, this is a very big day around my household because not only is it Halloween and I have young kids, I know you have kids too. How old are yours?
I have a son who just turned 18 and will be voting Tuesday.
Oh, yeah. I've got an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old. And here's the thing, the 8-year-old turns 8 today. So he's a Halloween baby.
Wow.
And
Wow.
and his mom's birthday is today. So this
Oh,
is kind of a triple holiday here in the household. So it's like enormous. We just have this. We have like multiple celebrations the whole day.
well,
Yeah.
I mean, then I'm even more so grateful that you could carve out time to talk about this ticket and these last important days. So thanks.
Oh, of course. We have to make sure everyone gets out there and votes. Vote. Now, some of you are looking at this, watching this on your screen, on your phone, and thinking, oh, it's too late. It is not too late. You can vote all the way up through Tuesday night, in most every place in the country. If you go to iwillvote.com and click on your state, you'll get all the info, but it is not too late. You can join right now as we're having this conversation, I think it's up to something like 79 million voters or something like that. So it's definitely the thing to do.
It's incredible. I have to say that in these last days where so many of us are feeling nervous and anxious and uncertain, especially as we see all the various attempts to suppress the vote, I am equally buoyed by everybody's patience and commitment and dedication to this sacred and most important civic duty. So yes, it is not over. There are lots of ways to vote and vote safely. And though the U.S. Postal Service probably right now isn't the best place to send your ballot, I'm encouraging everybody I know to find a way to vote early in these last days or show up on November 3rd with water bottle and your own pen if necessary, and some patience and optimism. I feel enormously inspired by those who have been voting and standing and waiting in lines, but also challenged by it to make sure everybody around me is equally as committed.
How did you vote? I voted by mail. I filled it out a little video. Did they video you too?
So listen, I haven't voted yet because my son is 18 and because he is a first-time voter and because he has accompanied us to every previous election in his lifetime to our local polling place, which is a public school here in New York City. He really, really was determined to do so in person himself on November 3rd. So we have, of course, granted that wish because we want him to feel all the joy that comes with voting. And that was something that was important to him. We have our ballots ready if the lines are very, very long, but as I said earlier, I'm a bitter ender, so I have no problem standing in line. I've got a good book to read, and I love talking with my neighbors. So we're going on Tuesday, top of the morning, to vote.
Look at that. You can be like Sarah Jessica Parker. You can go to your voting place Tuesday, just wait in line, have some reading time, have some alone time, or have some time with your now adult child, I guess, officially. I can't believe you had a voter.
I have to say, it's pretty thrilling. The theoretical in advance of him turning 18, especially given the last election and how much his generation was affected by that election. To imagine it, but I think to walk into that polling place with our son, who takes this seriously and also finds enormous excitement in it and joy. It's a very special event, and it's, as we've all heard countless times, because it's true. This is, in my case, certainly, but I know others have said it as well. It's the most important election of our lifetime, and I think the thing that I cling to is that the values and the ideals of this party I think are best for this country. And if we can all get together and make the commitment to show up and vote, I think we can be so much closer to the destination that we all want for each other, for our families, for our loved ones, for our neighbors, for our community, that the Biden-Harris ticket really, really aims to course correct and right the wrongs, and equally importantly, bring some hope and some optimism and a real desire for unity, which the country is desperate for right now, and also critically address COVID-19 and have a plan and take care of families that are suffering because of it, who've lost loved ones, but have also lost jobs. And this is my last thing I'll say about the Biden-Harris ticket, is that they don't separate public health policy with the economy, that they go hand in glove. And
Yes.
the minute that we rely upon science and we let professionals help be, not just help, but be a huge part of that conversation, we're so much closer to being a healthy country again.
I'm a huge believer in the fact that we are underinvesting in the arts in this country. And one of the things that hit my radar screen when I was running an organization called Venture for America, trying to train entrepreneurs in Detroit, New Orleans, Baltimore, and other parts of the country. It turns out that artists have the same impact on a community's economic trajectory as entrepreneurs do. So if you have a bunch of artists who move someplace and then you wait a while, like, positive things happen just the same way as if you have entrepreneurs head to a community and you watch them in action. And that blew my mind, but it made perfect sense. There is so much in common between artists and entrepreneurs.
It's absolutely true. And it's one of the first efforts for the presidential committee in that first term under Obama and Biden was to, in fact, do that kind of research so that we could really plead our case in terms of just funding, that bringing artists into a community, especially the communities that sit on the margins, especially where there are the least well-performing schools, always changes the environment. You bring artists into schools, that kids that aren't necessarily conventionally academic, that they have a new interest to invest in. There are countless studies that show how much the arts impacts in a positive way the economy, but also children staying in school, the testing scores go up, parents are more involved in schools, children go on to pursue higher education. So we want and believe that those are necessary in our public schools. And I know that a Biden-Harris ticket would support that kind of thinking.
Yeah, we need to properly value the arts from grade school on. And you're 100% right that studies have shown that arts education, drama in particular, have a massively positive impact on kids' engagement with school, on seeking higher education. And unfortunately, whenever a school district gets in trouble, and there are a lot of school districts that are suffering economically, arts education, they're like, oh, this should be the first to go, when really, in many ways, it should be the last to go. And you've probably seen that now they're turning STEM into STEAM, where they're putting, it's like science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. And it belongs there. You probably know I was the robot guy, where I was like, hey, look, AI and robots and software are coming to like do a lot of jobs, which is going to make it even more vital that we invest in the arts, and we have that be one of the main pillars of the 21st century economy and our schools.
And the thing too that comes with arts education and the exposure to arts is critical thinking and conflict resolution and whole new ways of thinking and whole new ways of looking at the world and understanding each other. You cultivate empathy, you cultivate curiosity. It's better for us as a community. It's better for us as a citizen. And once again, I just believe that a Biden-Harris ticket will understand and invest in those kinds of programs in our schools, that they are as important as all of the other sort of conventional ideas about academic life for our young people.
Well, Jill will be all over that. Jill will be like, hey, Joe,
Absolutely.
Because Jill's an educator, and so she sees it up close. So I'm totally in agreement that Joe and Kamala will start to properly value and invest in the arts, among many, many other things that we need to do.
The thing that I was excited to talk to you about also, because you made such a point of talking about wages and fair wages in this country, and what families in this country need who are holding down, mothers and fathers who are holding down 2 and 3 jobs. And I too wanted to say, for all of the families that are hurting right now, that I know that the Biden-Harris ticket is deeply invested in looking at all of those ideas that, whether it be a new higher federal minimum wage or worker protections or family leave, but also access to affordable health care, because it all ties in.
Yeah.
It's all together. And I think you were such an important leader in that conversation. And I was always so grateful, even if people thought it was outrageous. All these months later, it doesn't seem so outrageous at all. Not just for Democrats. These ideas are for Americans. And the idea of like the old-fashioned WPA, like what does that mean when you start exploring projects that bring new jobs and workers and training? And I just think there's so much to hope for. And I really just want people to vote so we can get closer to meeting those ideas as a reality.
Get out there and vote, people. If you already voted like me, not to be, I mean, Sarah's waiting because she can vote with her son. I mean, that's glorious. but for me, so a few things. I feel great about Tuesday. I think that we're going to win, in part because everyone watching this is going to go vote.
And don't let any cynicism that you might hear in the peripheral, about your vote doesn't count. It counts. We know from the last election, every vote counts. It's like a family heirloom. Like you protect it, you shelter it, you take care of it, and you use it. Your vote has enormous power. I believe that to be true because it is, but in the face of a lot of people feeling like I'm not sure and the system is broken, no, please don't. Give it one more shot, please. Give it one more shot and show up and vote in a safe way that makes you feel comfortable. But you can do it right now, today, tomorrow. All you have to do is go to, what is it?
iwillvote.com.
iwillvote.com. iwillvote.com. They have all the information. You just type in your state. I think it's quite detailed. As I've looked at it a number of times, it will give you every bit of information you need to vote safely and be counted and be heard.
Yeah, if you get out there and vote, it feels great. Nothing like that first time. I remember my first time voting. It was for Bill Clinton, and it felt great. And voting is habit forming. So if this is your first election, you definitely got to vote because you'll never forget it. And I'm sure you'll become a lifelong voter. But now's the time to start. If this is your first, now's the time to start.
My parents were always politically active, and the first campaign I worked on was the McGovern campaign in 1972. And my parents let me work the polling places with them and drive all the senior citizens to the polling places. And my brother was like 11 or 12. And I remember
for a while.
yeah, my parents are very active, and I remember I saw something on the news that I was so disturbed by what I saw, and I asked my mother, and this is just a great example of being involved and asking questions and using your voice. I said, well, what can we do about that? And she said, well, there's a man named George McGovern running for president, and he feels the same way you feel, so why don't you write him a letter and ask him what he's going to do and how he's going to fix this and how we can begin, to rectify this situation. And so I wrote him a letter, and he wrote me back, and he said, I'm coming to Cincinnati, Ohio, because I lived in Cincinnati then. I'm an Ohio native. And he said, I'll be speaking at the University of Cincinnati on this day, at this time, and please come hear me speak. And then I met him afterwards, and I think I was, I came from a political family, but I was politicized at that moment because I was an anonymous, 7-year-old girl, 6-year-old girl. And he wrote back, I was just an American citizen who had a concern and didn't understand the choices we were making. And I literally remember thinking, oh my gosh, I can be part of this. I can ask questions and we can hold people accountable. I mean, it wasn't quite that sophisticated at the time, my thinking, but I definitely understood that being involved made a difference. And that election didn't go the way we wanted it to go. I think we all know, how that turned out. But nonetheless, being politicized in that way, and I don't mean that as something that's like subversive. I mean having a moment where you can connect with a candidate and understand that your voice matters.
Yeah, it activates people. I had that experience on the trail myself, Sarah, where people told me that I got them into politics, and it's an incredible feeling. And it's an incredible feeling on both sides. It's an incredible feeling when someone engages with you and lets you know that your voice matters. And it's incredible when people invest their hopes for the future and you and your campaign. So let's do that for Joe and Kamala. Let's invest our hopes for the future. Because it really, I mean, you got to look up and say, we can't handle 4 more years of Trump in this form of leadership. It's just, but happily, I don't think we're going to have to, as long as we all get out and vote and make our voices heard. Joe and Kamala will fight for us as long as we get out and fight for them.